After living for a number of years in Ontario in sort of an urban city environment and having our children there, we knew we'd have a big family, and we decided that we wanted a slower pace and just a different quality of life. And we really liked the idea of living in a smaller town but having easy access to all the amenities that a city has to offer. So when we looked for real estate, we decided to move back to the Maritimes, started looking for real estate, and we decided that the Valley had everything that we needed, and it was in a really convenient location.
I grew up in Toronto, in Scarborough, Ontario, and growing up there was good, but it's very, very busy. There are a lot of people and there's a lot of traffic, and we didn't really want to have our kids grow up in an environment where there's just traffic. You're just driving everywhere in traffic for hours, going to work, going to any event, there's always traffic. So it was most of the time you're spending getting there instead of being there.
We had heard a lot about it would be a big adjustment for us because primarily where we are in the Windsor area, that it was a big retirement community. And what we've found is that's really not the case. I think the theater was a real pleasant surprise. I mean, on top of Quick as a Wink, there's also the Mermaid Theater. So for being in a small area, and also a number of theater companies throughout the Valley, so not just specifically in our area. And I think we were under the impression for any of those type of events or activities we wanted to partake in that we'd have to go into Halifax, and what we're realizing is really the Valley has sort of one or more of everything that our interests involved. So even, for example, the ski hills, and there's wineries and microbreweries and all the things that we are really interested in, and easy access to a university in a small area where Ian coaches track and field. And so we have the opportunity to use, top-notch facilities for that purpose. Yeah. So I think the pleasant surprise is coming back. I think we made the assumption that we'd have to make sacrifices compared to what we were used to in Ontario, and we really haven't had to make any form of sacrifice as far as our interests or extracurricular activities. So when I arrived, I transferred with a company that was based out of Ontario, and I initially started working out of the Maritimes with an Ontario-based company, but I'd been doing interior design as a hobby really on the side for years and years. So after settling here, I decided that it was time that I wanted to test the waters in the world of entrepreneurism. So I started my business this past spring, and people thought I was crazy that weren't from here, thinking, how are you going to have an interior design business that's going to survive in a smaller, more rural area? But it's really taken off, and I'm very fortunate, and I feel very pleased with how much support I've received from not just clients who are interested in my services, but also home builders and contractors.
My parents are Jamaican, so when I was leaving Toronto and coming here, people like in Toronto were like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be anyone that you can relate to that's Jamaican? And then when I came, because they have the migrant workers, it seemed like there was a good amount of Jamaicans to represent, and I was able to talk to them and relate with them, and I set up a couple social events, with a couple of the workers from Jamaica, and it was good for myself and for them, and I found it was just like home.
We've really found, not only just within our little area within town, the neighbors being so welcoming, and a lot of sort of neighborhood and community events, which is a lot of fun, but just in general, the ability and the openness to get involved in different community events. And we've really found, we've only been here 4 years, and we really feel like we know a lot of people in town, and we've really been welcomed into different social settings, which is nice. When you're from away, you sort of wonder if you're going to have a difficulty creating a social circle, and we definitely haven't felt that way whatsoever.
The main thing that I love about being here is we have 4 kids, and for them to be able to just ride their bikes and be outside and do things outside without having to worry and be panicking. Because in Toronto, you had to be a helicopter parent, because cars would be backing out of the driveways or coming down the road, and you had to be there. And not saying that we're not here for the kids now, but it's more relaxed because they can ride their bike on our driveway and just ride it around the block and play outside, and we don't have to keep where are the kids and keep worrying. You get to know your neighbors. Like in certain places, you can live beside someone for 20 years, 15 years, and not even know who your next door neighbor is.